Good morning, students. This is Vijay Philip from Adi Grandivir Vastu Belvant Fadike Vidyalaya English Medium Secondary Section. Today we are going to learn Standard 10 Subject English Unit number 4, 4.2 The Luncheon. The author is William Somerset Maugham. Let's study about the author. He was born in the year 1874 and passed away in 1965. He was a distinguished British playwright, novelist, and short story writer. He was among the most popular writers of his era and repeatedly the highest paid author during the 1930s. His work is characterized by a clear, unadorned style, cosmopolitan settings, and a shrewd understanding of his human nature. Who was William Somerset Maugham? He was a distinguished playwright, British playwright, novelist, and short story writer. You know that he was very popular in his period and he was the highest paid author during the 1930s. That means he was getting very good remuneration during his time. His work is characterized by a clear, unadorned style. Unadorned means very simple, not without any decoration. And his settings are really cosmopolitan and a shrewd understanding of human nature. He know how the people are behaving. He can understand the nature of human beings. A most delightfully humorous narrative, The Luncheon, is a slice of life story about Mom's luncheon date proposed to him by a woman whom he hopes is a supporter of his art. So the name of the lesson is The Luncheon. Luncheon means formal lunch. How to pronounce luncheon? What is the meaning of luncheon? The formal lunch, official lunch, not informal. So I'll read first paragraph. Listen carefully. I caught sight of her at the play and in answer to her call, I went over during the interval and sat down beside her. It was long since I had last seen her, and if someone had not mentioned her name, I hardly think I would have recognized her. She addressed me brightly. The Luncheon is a light-hearted account of an incident in the author's life, who is also the narrator of this story. Here, the author, while at a play, meets the woman with whom he has had a humorous experience in the past, sorry, and begins to narrate this story which took place 20 years ago. See, he is telling that I caught sight of her at the play. I met her at the play and in answer to her call, she rang me or she called me and I answered her call also. She found me. Okay, I answered her call. I went over during the interval. See, where did we met? Where did we meet? Met at the play. And during the time of interval, I went over her and I sat down beside her. I sit next to her. And you know that it was a long period since I had last seen her. And if someone had not mentioned her name, I hardly think I would have recognized her. But she addressed me brightly. I hope you understood this paragraph. Now I'll ask you questions. I caught sight of her. Can you identify the tense of this sentence? I caught sight of her. Anybody? Ah, what is the answer, children? I caught sight of her at the play. Ah, this is a past tense. Can you identify the same sentence? I caught sight of her. Can you identify the preposition in this sentence? Pick out the preposition. Okay. Of is the preposition. Yes, correct. Of is the preposition. Same. I caught sight of her. Can you tell me the question tag of this sentence? I caught sight of her. That means what is the question tag? I caught. This is past tense. Can you tell me anyone? Richa, can you tell me what is the question tag? I caught sight of her. Say, Vihar, I caught sight of her. Question tag. Better that is wrong because there is no R in the sentence. No, I is the subject, caught is the verb, sight of her is the object. Yes, very good. Didn't I? Rucha also said didn't. I heard that didn't I, because if there is no R was, you cannot say that aren't I or wasn't I or weren't I. So caught is the past tense. Okay, catch, caught. So that means I met her at the play. Then after some time she called me, she phoned me, and I answered her call also. Okay. It was long since okay, it was long since I had last seen her. Can you tell me the question tag? It was long since. What is the question tag of this sentence? It was long.
Isn't was.
My children, it was. Is there any is? It, it, and was. Wasn't it? Wasn't it? Okay. Okay, good. I hope you understood. If there is no is or was, you cannot say that. But here it was. So the question tag is wasn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. She addressed me brightly. Can you tell me the parts of speech of brightly? She addressed me brightly. She addressed me brightly. Okay, option I'll give you.
Adverb.
Yes, very good. Adverb. Very good. Brightly is a adverb. Okay. Now, she addressed me brightly. Okay. Can you tell me the question tag of she addressed me? She, subject, addressed verb, me, object. Question tag. What is the tense of this sentence? She addressed me brightly. What? Yes?
Past.
Past tense. Very good. So, what is the question tag?
Didn't she?
Didn't she? Very good. Didn't she? Okay. She addressed me. Only this much you think. She addressed me. What is the subject of this sentence? She addressed me. What is the subject?
He.
She is the subject. Predicate. Can you tell me predicate? She addressed me.
Addressed me brightly.
Brightly is the predicate. Okay, very good. Very good. Now, can you identify subject, verb, object? What is the subject? Right now, we already said what is the subject?
She.
She. And verb,
Addressed.
Addressed.
object, Me,
brightly.
very good, very good, very good. Okay, very good. Can you tell me the change the voice of this sentence? Only this much is the sentence. She addressed me. Otherwise, full. If you wanted to say full, she addressed me brightly. Okay. Change the voice. Object will come first. I.
I was addressed by her.
Very good, very good. I was addressed by her. So I hope you understood this paragraph. Again, I'll tell you the meaning of the paragraph. Um, that means who was the narrator of this paragraph? Can you tell me who was?
Writer, ma'am.
The writer. So the writer met the woman in a play, and that lady phoned him and he answered her call. Then during the play, during the interval, he went to her and sat beside her. And you know that it was very long, that means 20 years before he met her last. And somebody has mentioned her name, that is why he remembered her. And she addressed me brightly. That lady addressed him brightly. Okay, let's move on. So see, they were in a play. Okay, next para. Well, it's many years since we first met. How time does fly. We are none of us getting any younger. Do you remember the first time I saw you? You asked me to luncheon. Did I remember? So that means the woman and the author had only communicated through post or letters, and well, it's many years since we first met. Okay, see the punctuation marks, apostrophe, everything. Oh, it's many years. After many years, we first met. How times does fly. See the sentence. Can you identify the sentence? How time does fly. How time does fly.
Ma'am,
Yes,
exclamatory
very
sentence.
good. It's a exclamatory sentence because exclamation mark is there. We are none of us getting any. Okay, all the messages are here, so it's difficult. Okay, uh, okay, what she said, we are none of us getting any younger because time does fly and we are not younger now. Do you remember the first time I saw you? Do you remember the first time I saw you? Identify the type of sentence. Do you remember the first time I saw you?
Ma'am, interrogative sentence.
Interrogative sentence. How did you identify? Because question mark is there. And you asked me to luncheon. The author is telling that the author told her, yeah, many years before we met first. And do you remember? You asked me to luncheon. That means you asked me to go for a lunch. Then, oh my God, did I remember? The other thing that did I remember? Again, this is interrogative sentence. Okay, I hope you understood the meaning. Now, let's move on. It was 20 years ago, and I was living in Paris at that time. See, this is the story of 20 years before. The story starts 20 years before, and at that time, I was living in Paris. The author is telling that he is remembering when did he meet her. So that was the story starts 20 years before, and the author was living in Paris. I had a tiny apartment. I had a very small apartment and I was earning barely enough money. I have I'm getting money or my salary is just enough for my expenditure. I don't have much money. She had read a book of mine. You know that the author was a writer, and this lady, the woman, had read a book of his or author's book. And after reading the book, she had written him about the book. Maybe she told that your book is so nice, the language was so simple, and it was really a good story like this. Maybe she had told him. So he answered, the author answered, thanking her, and presently I received from her another letter. Then, after some time, he got another letter from her saying she was passing through Paris and would like to have a chat with me. So, in that letter, she has written that see, she was passing through Paris. That means she is coming to Paris and she wanted to meet him or she wanted to talk to him. See, this story started 20 years before, and during that time, the author was living in Paris and he was living in a small apartment because he was a beginner, he is not rich person. He is earning he is earning just enough money for his living. And what happened now? This lady has read a book of him and she wrote him that his book was very good and all. Then afterwards, once again he got a letter from her, and in that letter she mentioned that she was passing through the Paris, so she wanted to meet him. Okay. Now continuation. But her time was limited, and the only free moment she had was on the following Thursday. And would I gave her a little luncheon at Foyot's afterwards. Foyot is a restaurant, and it was so far beyond my means that I had never even thought of going there. So she has written in the letter that but her time was very limited, and the only free moment, a free time she had was on the following Thursday, and would I gave her a little luncheon at Foyot's. Foyot's is a very big restaurant, just like Taj Hotel, like that. It's a very big restaurant, and it was beyond my means because I cannot afford. Can we afford to go to Taj? No, no. So the same way he cannot afford this restaurant. And I had never, the author said that he had never even thought of going there because he doesn't have that much money, no. But she said she want we will meet, we have a lunch in the Fire's restaurant, and because this Fire's restaurant was a fancy place, but the author was afraid because it would be too expensive for him. That is why he don't want to go to that restaurant. But this lady said that she wanted to go to, we will meet in that particular restaurant. You know that the author was earning very less money for his living. How can he afford? It's very difficult for him. Then he said, he thought of himself, I had 80 francs, that is gold francs, to last me the rest of the month. And a modest luncheon should not cost more than 15. So that means he is having only 80 francs with him, and he has to continue for the this much this money 80 francs should uh, last for 1 month. So now in front of him 1 month is there, he is having only 80 francs. And for a modest lunch, for a simple and good lunch, it will cost only 15 francs. Then he thought, if I will spend 15 franc in this lunch, I have to cut down my coffee for the next 2 weeks. That means 15 days I cannot drink coffee because I don't have enough money. Then he thought, okay, okay, this lady invited me for a luncheon, so I have to go. She asked me for a luncheon, so I have to go. I'll manage myself for the rest of the month. This is what he thought. Okay, students. I hope that everybody understood. Now I'll ask you some questions. See the questions. First question is name the following. The I in the story. Can you guess who is the I in the
Writer, ma'am.
the writer? Okay, very good. Or the author. The place where the author was living. The place where the author was living.
Alice.
Very good, Paris. Very good, very good. The profession of the narrator. What was he doing? The
Ma'am,
profession?
writing.
Writing. Okay, he was a writer or he was an author or writer. Okay, writing is his profession. That means he was an author. The day on which the lady guest was free.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Ma'am.
Very good. The following Thursday. The luncheon was planned at this restaurant. What is the name of that restaurant?
Poets.
Fires. 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 The time since the author and the lady guest last met. The time
20 years.
20 years. It was a long time. Okay. Very good, children. Next, I'll ask you who said to whom. This is a table. Complete the following. It's many years since we met. Who said these words? It's many years since we met. Who said to whom and when? Oh, it's many years since we met. Who said? The lady said to the writer or the author. The lady said to the writer. Okay, the lady said to the writer. When?
After the interval of
20?
play.
No. When the two met after 20 years.
Years.
During the interval of the show. Okay. Now, next. Do you remember the first time I saw you? Who said? Do you remember the first time I saw you?
Ma'am, lady said to writer.
Very good. The lady said to the writer. When? When?
After 20 years.
After 20 years. Very good. After 20 years. Now, I ask you some grammar questions. First question. Just look at your textbook. I went over during the interval and sat down beside her. Question tag. Add a question tag. I went over. See, in order to find out question tags, what you required a subject and verb. And you should remember the tense of the sentence. I went over. Only this much you can see and tell. I went over. What is the question tag? Hello?
Didn't I?
Very good.
Didn't I, ma'am?
Didn't I? Very good. Next. She had already, she had read a book of mine and had written to me about it. Change into simple sentence. Change into simple sentence. She had read a book of mine. Here, what is the main verb? What is the subject? She is the subject, no children. She had read a book of mine. Subject, she. Had read a verb, but had is helping verb and main verb is read. So, ing form of the verb. What is the ing form of the verb?
Reading.
Reading. So, how you will write in simple sentence? Reading a book of mine, then she had written to me about it. Understood? Reading a book of mine, you have to remove the and. Okay? Reading a book of mine, put a comma She had written to me about it. Okay, clear? Now, how time does fly?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. How time does fly? Identify the sentence. Okay, Rucha, can you tell me how time does fly? Identify the type of sentence. Hello.
Exclamatory sentence.
Very good, very good. Now, identify the clause. This question I didn't ask you because purposely. If I cut out a coffee for the next 2 weeks, I could manage well enough. Identify the clause. If I cut out coffee for the next 2 weeks. What is the name of this clause? If I cut out coffee for the next 2 weeks. If. Okay. Can you tell me the main clause I could manage well enough? Or whatever it is, full sentence, what is the main clause?
I could manage well enough.
Very good, Shreyas. That is the main clause. And what is the subordinate clause?
If
If
I
I
cut
cut
out
out
coffee for the
coffee for
next
the
2 weeks.
next 2 weeks.
Very good, children. Very good. Very good. But can you identify the name? If I cut coffee for the next 2 weeks.
Adverb clause of condition.
Very good. E for weather, adverb clause of condition. Okay, very good, children. Okay. Now, thank you so much. Okay, let's stop. Time is over now, children.